Rise and shine, it's a brand new day. Ken and Ken take the stage, ready to play. Weekdays at 10, the cars and the scene. Coffee in hand, they're living the dream. Question in the voice, got the whole town awake. Bringing fire to the mic, make no mistake. Shows in the corner, spitting out facts. Dropping truth bombs, ain't holding back. Ken and Ken in the morning, feel the heat. From 10 a.m. CST, can take a seat. We live and loud, that break in the mind. Light up your speakers, crank up the sound. They're talking about life upside down. Opinions exploding like a sonic blast. In the studio, they're built to last. With passion and grit, they engage and ignite. Every single week, they're a force can't fight. From sports to politics,
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Ken and Ken in the Morning. Of course, I'm Ken, and well, that's Ken. We're easy to figure out. It's Ken, and it's Ken. And eventually there will be a Timu Joe Rogan, who's, by the way, also Joe. Go figure. See how easy and simple they are. Good morning, Fred. Fred was here like about 10 minutes ago, already waiting for us to go live. Good morning,
Good morning,
Jack
guys.
Wagon, who doesn't like my state of Florida, I guess. Good morning there, hero, Brent. You know, you say that to someone who's in the Army and you call him hero, shivers. You know why? Drill sergeants. Come here, hero. Get over here, hero. Because, like, especially, like, you know, they can't really curse you anymore. They couldn't say, hey, get over here, you blah, blah, you know. So that became a curse. Come here, two words that became kind of curse words to you. Hero and private. Come here, private. What are you doing, private?
Hold on.
Private?
Hold on.
Come here,
Hold
hero.
on. Hold on. We're training people to go to war, and you can't curse at them?
You know, gentler, kindler army and all that good stuff.
Oh, my God. Freaking kiss my ass.
But to be honest with you, it's kind of like, and Brent will tell you, hearing hero or private, those are just as bad as calling someone it's just as bad. It's just, yeah, it's not good. Put it that way. Hold on, what's Brent said? Yeah. Oh, here we go. They called us whale chaser. I mean, but dude, they're like they find other ways, and like, you know, you're a private. That's why they call everyone private, because 99% of the people in basic are privates. Every so often you get a guy who might be a specialist or a prior service guy who, for some reason, has to do basic. We had one guy who was actually an E5. We had an NCO. It's like, it was so weird, but you know, you get weird one-offs like that. But everyone's a private, so you hear that. Come here, private. You hate your rank so much at that point. And then when you hit PV2, you're still a private. You hit E3 PFC, guess what? You're still a private. So yeah, it's funny. It's just, come here, hero. Oh my God, by that point, I'd been in for a minute. Wasn't allowed to join. Was that because the Army wouldn't take you, or your parents or someone else was like, you ain't doing it? You know, it's usually one of the others. Oh, I think we have a Joe. We do have a Joe. There's a Joe. Good morning, Joe.
What's up, guys?
Or as Brent and I would say, what's up, hero? Then you missed the first part we were talking about the Army. Everyone's called hero or private, and that's almost as bad as calling someone an MF or something like that, because that, you know, the vernacular changes. Put it that way. Hey, we had some trades yesterday. Just a few after we got off air, didn't we? And look, I got Ken on the phone, Joe frozen, and there we go. There, as we transition to trades. Of course, the Cowgirls made a move, and Jacoby Myers made a move. We knew about those during the show. And then we go off air, and New Jersey goes freaking crazy. The Jets make 2 big trades, right? The first one, Jerry, maybe this was a trade Jerry was hinting about on Monday night. Q goes from the Jets to the Cowgirls to beef up that D line.
Yeah. Man, it's nice and all that, they added somebody into the Cowboys for their defensive line for them. But how much of an impact are we going to see this year out of it? Just
Right
because
away.
of the Cowboys' defense as a whole.
Right
It
away.
has so many holes in it.
Right away. You'll see it right away. You see it every time with an edge, and linemen are different. Montez Sweat came to the Bears, 6.5 sacks like that. Look what happened with your boy up there in Green Bay, like that. A guy like Q, who disrupts the middle and gets to the quarterback, they'll be instantaneous. They'll see it right away. I mean, and Joe probably will agree with that, because with these D linemen of that caliber, you feel that impact instantaneously once they start getting into games.
I feel that you'll see him right away. Like he'll have some sort of impact. I don't know that he makes that much of a difference on their defense. Like it's possible he could. It's possible that he's that type of player that makes the guys, when you have a good line, put it that way, when you have a good line, it makes the secondary's job easier. Like it makes the linebacker's job easier. So he should have some sort of impact. I think when you take the whole thing in the like as far as with the Micah trade, right? And you look at, okay, so they got 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark for Micah, and then they gave away a first and a second in Mozzie Smith. So they basically ended up with Quinnen Williams, a first-round pick. I mean,
yeah, it's well, Q is younger, even though he's under contract for a couple, so they kind of come out a little bit ahead that way with maybe what they're going to do in free agency. As far as like, I kind of agree with you. Like you're going to see Q's impact as Q right away. Now, as far as the rest of the defense, well, yeah, I'll diverge from you a little bit. I agree with the overall. You might not notice a massive change, but now there's going to be a series or two that ends because Q is there versus them just marching down the field. So
yeah,
I mean,
he's going to get pressures, and he's also going to help somewhat in the run game.
Yeah.
But actually, I forgot, because they got Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams and a first-round pick. So, I mean, when you shake that whole trade out, like, and it's still, it depends to be seen what they get with that first-round pick.
Right.
So, I mean, that sounds like a decent deal for Micah Parsons, to be honest with you.
And with that, too, remember, the Jets are getting the worst of the 2 picks. So if the worst of the 2 picks is
are you sure about that?
Pick, yeah. Well, the worst in terms of worse for the Cowboys, the better pick overall. So if the Packers would say don't get in the playoffs, right? And Dallas doesn't, they take the Green Bay #1 pick. If vice versa. So I mean, for them though, they got their interior defense is with Clark. Now who knows how much Clark's gonna still play, but for at least maybe next year, maybe the next 2 years after the next 2 seasons, they already had a good edge rusher they have a lot of faith in, who they think will kind of step up. Won't exactly be Parsons, but be good enough, right, to be worthy of getting rid of Parsons. That was also part of their factoring. They save a ton of cap money, which is always good for Dallas because they're always looking to sign people. And Parsons was the odd man out, and they probably knew they weren't going to be able to sign him to the deal they wanted to sign. He wanted. So in a weird way, Jerry at the end of all this ends up get rid of Parsons, but actually not, and they're still in it, Dallas. They're still kind of in the hunt for this thing in the East. So interesting situation with Dallas, but I think Q doesn't make them all of a sudden a defense you have to fear, but it definitely gives Eberflus some things to do now. That they still need some more pieces. It's definitely not a complete defense. But
If I'm Dallas, I'm using that first round pick on an edge rusher, and then now I got 2 stud DTs and a new edge rusher,
or a linebacker.
Yeah, I mean a linebacker probably makes more sense at where they're going to be picking at, because they're probably going to end up with Green Bay's pick, and their pick is probably going to get taken by the Jets.
And they traded for a linebacker as well to replace a linebacker that went to the IR kind of thing. So who knows how that translates out? But yeah, probably a linebacker from where they're at, maybe an edge rusher. They don't offensively, they're going to need linemen at some point, but their defenses are more pressing need because offensively they're scoring. Not to get off the Cowboys here, but then the Jets, like, oh wait, hold my beer, New Jersey. We're getting rid of Sauce Gardner too, and they got a haul for Sauce Gardner, didn't they, Ken?
Yeah, I am massively shocked that they were able to get 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner because he's had a couple of down years. Granted, we just said yesterday that we think that his down years were scheme dependent, saying that the Jets scheme defensively had sucked for him. And we were talking like he would do well in Green Bay's defense. Well, unfortunately, I think he's going to do well for the Colts defense. Which, hey, you never would have thought going into this year that a team would be all in on Danny Dimes, but hey, it sure looks like a team's all in on Danny Dimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, Joe. I mean, I didn't see the Colts really buying because they're 7-2. It's like, really? But I think this is a nice little power move.
I think that was, I think it was a fantastic move. I mean, did they overpay? Yeah, I think they kind of did a little bit, but to add a player like that to your defense when you're already you're on a run right now, I think it was very astute of them to recognize, hey, we didn't expect for our window to open so soon, but it's open. We need to, load up now. And so, your offense is scoring. You have a good young player in Warren. I think why not try to push all in for this year? You're looking at possibly the number 1 seed. Add every talented player you can.
Some people may say, they've been overachieving. Well, okay. They kind of maybe even realize that, say, hey, we're overachieving a little bit, but we have cap room, we have draft capital. Let's solidify this overachieving into some more legitimacy. Let's not be Washington, right? Who last year overachieved, and they tried to compensate in the free agency this year. It didn't really work out too well. Let's not be Denver, who really overachieved last year. And people are like, yeah, but Ken, they're 7-2. Yeah, they're still overachieving because what have they really beaten? They've lost to the good teams. But Denver didn't do anything. And maybe Denver didn't overachieve at the end of the day. Maybe they're just a good, solid team that's playing in favorable circumstances. I can frame it that way, I guess. But for the Colts, a good move to say, hey, look, because people thought they'd be sellers. Everyone thought they would be a trash team looking to get the number 1 pick. All of a sudden, Indiana Jones shows up.
Apparently, the Detroit education system is massively failing people.
I guess.
Hey, Fred, if you want to Google it, it's ASTUTE. By the way.
But then, like Brent says, the right thing. AG now they pick up, over the next 2 years, 4 number 1s. Right? They're going to have 2 this year, 3 next year to burn in the draft, and who knows if they do something in the in between, right? Because they still didn't get rid of Breece Hall. They still have another edge that they're trying to move, and the Bears got out of it because the price wasn't what they wanted to pay. But they could still make a move there and pick up more capital. Now, of course, trades become a little harder because of the waiver process, but they're going to happen still. It's just now they're not free and clear. They do still happen. Guys do clear the waiver process, and so they. I mean, I don't blame the Jets, man. I mean, they got a ton of capital. For Justin Fields, what does this mean, dude? You're screwed. You're screwed because once again, they didn't get rid of any of his offensive pieces.
No, because they want to keep that offense together. And it's actually this makes it an even smarter move for the Jets. Like, they took away whatever small bit of defensive competency they had. They took it away. So they pretty much guaranteed themselves they're going to be either the number 1 or the number 2 overall pick, right? They're going to go get a quarterback with that pick, and they're going to keep their offense together. And they have another first-round pick now that they can go get either a receiver or like a number 2 receiver, let's say. Or they could go get a defensive piece, and then next year they're going to have 3. They're loading up on that defense, dude. You got a chance to add 3.
If they don't like the quarterback class, they don't even have to do that. They could go out and get O-line, and the 2 O-linemen in the first round, and then they got a bunch of second rounders too. Then they can look to get a receiver. They can look to go get a tight end. They can start building defensive pieces. And then the following year, like, okay, good, great quarterback class. I have 3 opportunities to get a quarterback somewhere in there or to package stuff together to move up. And so really they've got some serious ability now to make some moves. And here's the thing. If they don't get a quarterback, Jesus, Fred.
Man, I've been trying to hold it in, but that fucking comment's great.
If they don't get a quarterback next year and they draft a quarterback the year after, think about it. It's a clean break from Fields. There's no quarterback controversy. That quarterback's going to come in with the number 1 job locked up because if Fields gone, there's no any of that. And if Fields all of a sudden pans out, right, next year, then they don't have to worry about, they can maybe draft the quarterback later in the first round and let that guy sit for a year or 2 behind Fields. So they've got all these options now. They've got a lot of options at Jets.
That's a fair argument, Luca. Like, I can see what you're saying. I would argue whether Sauce is in his prime or not, like considering his play the last year or 2, but it could be, the Jets are just really that bad, and he might go to the Colts and thrive. I think that's probably more likely.
That's exactly what I think. That's why I wanted us to go for Sauce, because I think he's just being misused by the Jets, and him going out to Indy's going to, I think, massively help his career.
Well, look at, I would say yes, they overpaid because here's the thing. Yeah, they overpaid because they got not 1 but 2 first-round picks for each of these guys. And like the 1 first-round pick, you could say, okay, fine, because he's under contract for another couple years. That's why you get a first-rounder versus a second-rounder for a guy you got to extend when he gets there, i.e. a Montez Sweat, a Roquan Smith, a lot of other guys that are high-caliber players that get traded at the deadline from suck teams. Because that's usually what happens. They're on a contract year, whatever. Yeah, these guys have some contracts. Both of them have contracts that are relatively fresh. So I can understand a first rounder, but that would be like a first rounder and a 4th. No, they got 2 first rounders for each of these guys, plus, right?
No, they got a first and a second for Williams.
Yeah,
and a player and a guy they're going to use right away. So I mean, did they that's like when this all happened, I saw the Q thing, I was like, come on, Poles, do something. And then that was before the trade details came out. Just that, okay, he's been traded. It's like, oh, come on, Bears Twitter explodes. And then we started to see what people were paying for him in Sauce Gardner. Like, well, I'm not mad. Right? I'm not mad. I mean, a second rounder, sure, I'll give up a second rounder for a good player. Mm-hmm. But that kind of payment, no. And then, because Bears fans like, oh my God, the Bears making a move, and we got a guy, after the show ended yesterday, and we got Tyron Shanoika, right, for a 7th round pick, right? And it's actually we got Joe Tyron Shoyinka and the seventh rounder, and we gave up a sixth rounder for it. And here's the thing: the dude's a former first round pick, right? Just no sacks this year. That was the first thing people looked at. Well, how's he doing this year? Well, great. He's like the guy who just got injured, no sacks. Former first round pick though, has some upside, but yeah, he's basically a Dio replacement. But the cool thing is with this, I think Dio's done in Chicago. It's not cool for Dio. It's not cool he got hurt. However, I think what happens now with the Achilles injury, that's a 12-month deal, unless your name is Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins for some reason. He's out. He's not at camp. He starts the year on the PUP or the IR. And when he hits his 21-day window, they never activate him. He stays on the IR. And guess what? The Bears save on cap money from him because next year's cap for him is like 18 mil. They're going to make a massive savings on that because of this injury. And at the end of the year, when it comes favorable, he's gone. And this guy is going to be here. And also now, or we make, because he's under contract for another year or so. I don't think he's a pure rental. And the Bears go draft someone, and then you got Booker coming up. So the Bears were actually kind of smart. So I wasn't mad with the Bears. The Packers going, yeah, but we need a corner. Great. What corners besides Sauce Gardner got traded yesterday that you were going to give up something for? That's going to actually improve your team.
On that note, we are massively linked to Asante Samuel Jr. there.
No, that's completely different though, right? What cornerbacks got traded yesterday that would have made the Packers better?
I was going to say that's part. Yeah, that's part of what I'm saying. I think that's why we didn't end up going after Denzel Ward or somebody like that.
A lot of teams are going to look at Samuel, right? But the point is there were not other cornerbacks out there that were being traded that it was worth you making a move because they weren't better than what you got. Same in Chicago. Same in a couple other cities with corners. There was one really good corner out there, and he went to the Colts. There was one great defensive tackle out there, and he went to Dallas. Because you look at here's the other trades, right? I mean, Jacoby Myers went to the Raiders or went to the Jags. Great move for him. I know there are a couple other teams who really, really would have liked to do that. Like, I don't know, Buffalo, right? Rashid Shaheed going to the Seahawks. Another good receiver going to a team. Once again, a couple other teams really would like to have Shaheed. So those are good trades for the new clubs, right? And then you look at it. That's about it for impact. Is Logan Wilson going to be an impact? No, he's replacing the guy who got hurt. Is Trevor Penning going from the Saints to the Chargers big impact? No, he's going there because they just lost Joel. And then the Jets get Jazeer Taylor from the Chargers. Well, yeah, because that's what you just got rid of Sauce. And you need to put someone in the cornerback position. So you look at what got traded yesterday. If your team didn't do something, Green Man all over those cowgirls, I tell you. Well, he likes cowgirls. I don't know if he liked the cowboys. Anywho, what talent was there that was going to improve your team if you're Green Bay, Chicago, Detroit, or Minnesota? After Sauce was off the board in Q, there was nothing.
I was going to say, what's funny about that, Luca, is Asante apparently prefers Green Bay because it would give him a chance to start immediately.
He's going to have that chance in a lot of places. He's going to have that chance.
Yeah, I was going to say that's from his camp.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't look when the camp says bullshit. You know why? Because the camp says that because they want to try to get a better deal with another team. It's all leverage. I don't believe any of that bullshit. That's what it is. It's bullshit. Sauce really likes this because, or I'm sorry, he really likes this because he could be a starter. Hey, Chicago, so you want to give me an extra $20,000, or do I take him to Green Bay? I mean, that's all part of the jockeying and positioning to get him a contract. There's a bunch of teams where Samuel, if he passes the physical and works out good, he's going to get a contract and can probably start right away. Because there are a couple teams that are just depleted at the cornerback position. Whether it ends up in Green Bay or not, I don't know. And then the question is, I mean, he just got cleared. How good's he going to be? Big question mark. Good question mark. Oops. Yeah, good morning, Cam. Disappointing, maybe, but maybe not.
I think that was one of the more active trade deadlines we've had. Like, you get two superstar players traded. Like,
yeah, it was the third busiest since like at least 2000, or third busiest all time, I think. Last year was the second, and I think the busiest was like 2011 or something like that. Yeah, I mean, look, he's trying to get a market, and that's what good agents do. So, don't, if you're a Packer fan, don't buy into that. If you're a Bear fan or a Vikings fan or whoever, don't buy into that. And Cam, I just talked about that a few minutes ago, so I'll just rehash it real quick for you, catch you up. When I saw that the Jets traded him and to Dallas, I was pissed. I was like, come on, Poles, really? Then I saw what Dallas paid for him. I was no longer pissed. Yeah, I mean, rumors are rumors. Like, we doubted the Parsons rumor. It happened, but Parsons was linked to a couple. But look, there were a couple other fan bases that were just as linked as much as the Packers were. So, they drove a market. There's smoke screens. Sometimes there's fire to the smoke. Sometimes there's a smoke grenade. Asante Samuel is going to go where he's going to get paid and be on a good team. And really, he could go to Detroit. He could go to Chicago. He could go to Green Bay. He could go to the Vikings. All four teams are in it. He could go to the Ravens. He could go to Buffalo. He could,
wherever he ends up going, it's pretty much going to be for 1 year to prove that he can still play football. Yeah. And then he'll sign a major deal after that.
He might get a 2-year deal that's like voidable, but continue, or it's mutually voidable. Like one side could void it if they want. Just as he could get something like that. But yeah, basically it's going to be a prove it deal for the rest of the season, with next year would say being a conditional deal that he can void or the team can void. But if they're both just happy as is, they can move on, kind of thing.
Actually, like, so the Colts, I think they made a good deal for where they're at, but I think the Cowboys, like, because they were getting clowned for that Micah Parsons trade, dude. They were getting shit on for that. But when you really look at it, I mean, even right now, like, they have 3 first-round picks in the next 2 years, plus Kenny Clark, plus Quinnen Williams, like that. That looks like a pretty good return for Micah Parsons, dude.
And they got some core guys who are all signed to big contracts who are producing. So if they hit
on those 3 first-round picks, you potentially got 5 good players for Micah Parsons. Like, that's a deal anywhere you go, man.
And look at Green Bay. While they're in first place by a half game by virtue of a Micah Parsons tackle that prevented them of the loss in overtime, right? They're not exactly running away with anything. So, what did this trade at this point do for Green Bay? It kept them in a division where the difference between first and last is what, a game and a half? Think about it, if Micah doesn't make that tackle, you have 3 teams at 5-3 and 1 at 4-4. It's a 1-game spread. So, I mean, for Green Bay and now what they're paying him and what they gave up, you're right, Joe. The trade doesn't look as oh my God, when it happened, everyone said, oh my God, the Packers, got over on them and this, that, and the other. And no, it right now, after this yesterday, it's like, well, wait a minute. Maybe the Packers didn't. Maybe Dallas didn't know what they were doing.
I was going to say, you just got to wait to see how Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark's health-wise they stay, because they've both had their bit of injury history.
Yeah,
that's going to massively factor into it.
And you also have to wait and see what they do with those 3 first-round picks, because if they hit on those, that's what I'm saying. If they hit on those 3 first-round picks, I think it's fair to say Dallas won that trade.
And then initially,
or at least they came out, they came out with a good deal. It's not something to be laughed at.
Mm-hmm. And then you got to look at Micah too. Is he going to be able to stay healthy? Because he had that back issue, which was an issue maybe at the beginning of the season. It doesn't appear to be an issue now, but that's not to say it's not an issue tomorrow. And then what happens to them over this time period? You know, if they fail to make the playoffs and Dallas gets in, right? That's a fit factor. If next year, if Dallas all of a sudden wins the East and the Packers are, stuck in the mud in the North, that's a factor. So, it's funny how these trades work, because initial blush, like, wow, the Packers won this deal. Now you fast forward 9 weeks, 10 weeks, you're like, well, wait a minute. Now we got to wait and see. It might not be a clear-cut win for Green Bay. They might actually have lost this trade, right?
Or it might be somewhere close to the middle, like it ends up being a good deal for both teams. Because I don't think it's a bad deal for Green Bay, because they didn't just get Micah Parsons. What they got by getting Micah Parsons is they completely unlocked Rashawn Gary, and that was something that they've been trying to do for years now. And so you can't really understate that impact, because Rashawn Gary's having a career year. Like,
But if the net aggregate for Green Bay is they don't win the division, they miss the playoffs by, then I mean, look at they're a half a game in first place right now. So it's not like it kind of goes back to my argument earlier. It made them more competitive in the North. That argument's holding more true. They're not running away with anything. And look, they still got to play the Bears twice. They still got to pay. They just lost to Carolina, which, what the hell? So they still get to play a Vikings team that just beat the Lions. They still got to play the Lions again. They got 4 more division games. Let's say they go 2-2 in the division for these last 4 games. That changes things. Or they go 1-3 in the division over those next 4 division games.
Or they go 4-0 in the division.
Or, that's what I'm saying. We got to look at all of that. So, look, if I'm the Bears, I'm not afraid of Green Bay right now. If I'm the Lions, I'm not afraid of them, even though I'm wondering, what the hell did I just do this last weekend to the Vikings? And if you're a Vikings fans, you're definitely not afraid of them, because you just beat the Lions and they just lost to Carolina. So the North is still so much up in the air. The Micah Parsons deal didn't tip the scales. It brought them to level, which is what I said at the time when it happened. And that's how it's played out so far. We'll see if it continues to play out that way. And then we'll see, like you said, after the draft picks, what Dallas does with it. At the end of the day, Dallas may have made a great set of moves for Dallas. And it may not be something where there's a winner or a loser. Maybe everyone wins in their own kind of way. Because would the Packers have ever made this deal for Quentin Williams that they just made that Dallas did? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see us going for Quentin Williams like we did Micah Parsons.
So, yeah, that was. I mean, the trade deadline, it was weird, because for being the third busiest in NFL history, it is kind of like flat, right? Because the Sauce Gardner, and it's funny because, like, the Titans didn't really sell anything. The Dolphins didn't move anyone. There was talk for Waddle, but deals fell through. The Saints didn't do much, but we kind of knew that because of contracts. But there really wasn't a lot. For as much movement as there really wasn't a lot of movement. Right? I'm
actually surprised that Miami didn't get rid of Bradley Chubb. I thought Bradley Chubb would get traded for sure.
They got rid of nothing.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. Like, but
this is making me think. Not to interrupt you, Joe.
No, you're good.
This is making me think that there's more credence to the rumors I've been hearing that Miami might actually keep Mike McDaniel and pair him with the new general manager. Because I've been hearing some of those, and I just wrote them off because with how terrible the Dolphins have been doing and all that. But we can't forget he had them as one of the hottest teams in the league just a couple of years ago.
Well, that's the other thing, though, too. Like, they have an interim GM, and same for the Titans. And it's as interim GMs, it's kind of like they don't necessarily make big moves. Usually, GMs who are about to get fired might make some big moves in order to try to save their job. Say, well, look, man, I'm just going to tear it down. I'm going to rebuild it, so keep me around. That sometimes that's the ploy, but Miami's interesting, and maybe sometimes you get more for a guy pre-draft than you do at the deadline. There's a little credence to that too, but it's going to be interesting to see what Miami does and what Tennessee does, because they both had guys they could have moved and just didn't.
Yeah.
And maybe and you look at, I mean, the Q trade happened so early yesterday, it probably blew up some other deals. Because all of a sudden teams said, well, shit, look what they just got for Q. And then Sauce drops a few minutes later. And people are like, well, look what the Jets are getting. We want more. That's why some of these trades dropped out. You know, because they were talking, well, you know, maybe a third rounder. Well, shit, they just got that for Q. No, we want a second round. And teams was like, nah, partner, nah. That could be a little bit of it too. So I mean,
they could be waiting to hire their GM and then go into the pre-draft and be like, hey, we're going to unload our guys now. You just don't trust, maybe necessarily trust your interim GM, you know, or maybe it's not that you don't trust them, but you don't want to make these big kind of moves before you hire your new GM because you're kind of hamstringing them.
Yep. I mean, but the other piece though is like if you made all the moves, now you're handing your new GM a ton of draft picks.
Yeah.
There's two ways to look at that coin. So I mean, you know, look, there were some trades of need yesterday, right? Chicago trade of need got an edge piece that is going to be depth because the Bears already said Booker's starting, but a former first round pick that basically could work out for them in replacing Deo and having some depth, a good veteran presence. Okay, good. You look at one of the Cowboy trades, you lose a linebacker, you get a linebacker. You look at that last trade for the Jets, you trade a corner, you got a corner. The wide receiver trades were pretty impactful. Those are probably the two most impactful, or two of the other most impactful trades after Q and Sauce. And you look at the NFC North, and no one was looking to buy a receiver. I mean, but you know, let's think about this. They just gave Ginger Jesus another viable option, who's probably now the fastest man on that football team in Seattle, and it's going to take some pressure off NBS. Seattle just got more dangerous.
Yeah, and I honestly assumed that they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year because I did not believe in their offensive. I didn't believe in that offensive line whatsoever, and I figured with having a shitty offensive line, Sam Darnold was going to revert back into a shell. But holy shit, was I wrong on that completely.
Not just you. You were all wrong.
And the Seahawks paid for with a fourth and a fifth round pick. Jacoby Myers got a fourth and a sixth round pick for the Raiders. Two impactful receivers to their new teams, and the price tag was not steep. Not steep at all. I mean, because if you would have said, hey, a second rounder for Jacoby Myers, like, people would be like, yeah, I could see that. Nope, fourth and sixth. Rashid Shaheed, like you said, maybe a second or third rounder, a fourth, what did I just say, fourth and fifth, or was it fifth and sixth? Still, cheap. A fourth and a fifth for Rashid Shaheed, cheap. And look at it, I mean, the Rams and the Seahawks, that's going to be – and the Niners are playing good too. That's the battle. And actually, you know what? For as bad as the Cardinals' record is, they're a tough out. That division, that NFC West is going to be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. And I'll give Dallas credit too, even though, I mean, it's like they that Quinnen Williams move, you could definitely argue it was a need. Like, maybe not specifically a defensive tackle, but just defense in general. They needed something to help that defense out. So at least addressing that part of it, it shows like, you know, they realize that it's a problem and they're trying to address it in some way. You know?
Yeah, it's a very interesting day yesterday, boys. Very interesting day.
I do wonder, though, when they finally get Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams on the field together, like, that'll be a pretty formidable DT tandem. I wonder if that, you know, increases their inside pressure and makes their their secondary, play better. Like,
I think that it'll absolutely increase the inside pressure because somehow the narrative got to Kenny Clark being this run stuffer when he was a pass rushing defensive tackle.
Well,
When pairing him with Q, you are going to get one hell of an inside pass rush out of them.
and here's the other thing. So Eberflus's defense runs from the middle, right? His defensive scheme is predicated on the defensive tackles getting pressure, and now he's got that. So I think Eberflus's defense automatically, for his style of defense and the stunts he calls and the way he runs a defense, is now suited more towards Matt Eberflus. So yes, I think that you're going to see a change in that Dallas defense. Eberflus won't get fired this year. If anything, he'll get at least another year now with this interior, and they'll beef up the defense on maybe the edge and the corners and the safeties. They'll obviously draft a guy or two to fill some other spaces there. There'll be Eberflus style guys that go for this type of defense, but initially you're going to feel an initial impact. But long term, this is definitely more of an Eberflus design defense, because his defensive design is for the defensive tackles to generate some of that pressure and not have it be the edges guys as the focus. So, and that's the other reason I think they got rid of Parsons, to be honest with you. Parsons didn't fit Eberflus's scheme the way they are right now, and they had to address that. And that's the way. This is the way they addressed it. So, Dallas is going to be interesting. And look, at Dallas isn't necessarily out of the East, right? I mean, they just took an L, but look at the Giants are going to take an L this week, right? I mean, look at the Cowboys are 3-5-1 in second place. The Eagles are 6-2. The Cowboys the Commanders are 3-6, but hell, you just lost Jaden for the year. You're done. The Giants are 2-7 with no Scadaboo. They're done.
They still might sneak out a win this week.
No. The Cowboys, though, at 3-5-1, let me see, 1, 2, 3.
3 games back.
4, 5, 6. All right, if I go to the top 6 records right now, it's the Bears, Lions, Packers, Eagles, Packers, Lions, Bears, Vikings. Actually, I'll go 7, Bucks and Panthers. They're your 7 playoff teams. The worst of that is 5-3/5-4. Okay, so you're looking at the Cowboys, who are 3-5, 2 games out with half the season to go. They're in the hunt. They're in the hunt for now. So you look at those teams. I mean, okay, we'll just forget about the NFC North. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot the West. No, they're not.
Yeah, I was going to say right now, Chicago and Carolina would be the 8th and 9th seed in the NFC.
I completely skipped the West. My bad. Seahawks, Rams, and Niners are all – Seahawks and Rams, 6-2, Niners, 6-3. You got the Bucks are 6-2. The Panthers are 5-4. Then Packers 5-2-1. Then you got 5-3 for the Lions and Bears. 4-4 for the Vikings. They're still in the hunt. And then you've got 6-2 for the Eagles. So at 3-5-1, you're barely in the hunt, but you're in the hunt. So, and depending on how the tie breaks go between the Lions and the Bears and everyone else they've played, because we still have another division game. So if they split, right, and then it comes, well, how did you do against like opponents and all the other bullshit? But the Cowboys, they're like, hey, we still have hope.
It's crazy to think though that in the NFC you could be 5-3, and right now you're on the outside looking in at the playoff picture. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, because if you look at the AFC,
you could be 3-5 and you're still looking in. Like, you might be the number 7 seed at 3-5.
Okay, well,
right
you've got in the East, you got 7-2 and 6-2. 5-3 wins the North right now. There's your first 3. Then you got 7-2, so 4. 5-3 is 5. 7-2 would be 6. 6-3 would be 7. The Chiefs are 5-4, so they're the team on the out. They're team 8 right now at 5-4, a half game behind the 5-3s.
You guys want to know a crazy player stat I found out about yesterday? I did the calculation myself.
Uh-oh.
Jackson Smith and Jigba is on pace for 123 receptions and 2,014 yards receiving this year.
That'd be nuts if he hits anywhere near close to that.
Well,
Fucking nuts.
Though, but Broski, did you factor in yesterday's trade with that? With Rashid
Well,
Shaheed
that's
now
a
going there?
point that's a good point to discuss. It's like, hey, you can look at it two ways. Like, you got this burner who's a deep threat, right, from the Saints. It's like, is he actually going to free Njigba up more, or is he literally going to be taking a number of receptions, targets away from Njigba?
Both. I think it's both. But
That's what I mean. Like,
I think you free him up more, but he's going to take. But at the same time, while freeing him up, you're taking long balls away. So in the aggregate, while you're freeing him up more, you're taking yardage away from him, but you'll have him maybe for bigger plays. So it's one of those. The stats are going to suffer, but the team is going to be better for it, kind of things. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, like it's going to be very difficult to keep up that pace an entire season. I mean, that's there's a reason there's never been a 2,000-yard receiver in the league. But let's say he finishes with like 1,800 yards receiving and like 115 receptions. I mean, that's freaking incredible, man.
Insane.
What a player that guy's turning into.
Well, and look at that team does not lose on the road. Undefeated since last year, since midseason or whatever last year. They've won 9 straight on the road or 10 straight on the road. I mean, right now, you do not want to look at the Seahawks are the 3 seed. That's good for whoever's going to play them in the playoffs. They don't win at home. You want them to be the 5 seed. Because if they're the 5 seed, or you don't, if you're the Seahawks, you kind of want to be the 5 seed because you're unstoppable on the road right now. If let's say they win out their road games this year, dude, they are a road juggernaut. So like you'd almost rather be the 5 seed than the 3 or the 4 seed. That's crazy if you think about it.
I was talking with Nick the other day about, the Niners, if they end up as a wild card, like, how would you feel about having to play them as the Packers in the wild card? Because it looks like the Packers are right now, they're the number 4 seed. Like, there's a chance that you have to end up playing them. Like, how do you feel about that, Ken?
Joe, you want to know how I feel about it? Same way I feel about your fucking Tucker Craft curse.
I'm just asking. I mean, like, would you feel a little better that it's Mac Jones and not Brock Purdy, or would you feel worse because Mac Jones has been playing really good ball? Or
I do not feel confident anytime we meet them in the playoffs. Until we get that win, it's like Buffalo and Kansas City in the playoffs. You might as well just chalk it up until they prove otherwise.
Ooh, and then you'd have the Lions going to the Bucks.
Yeah,
and if it holds like it does now, you'd have the Lions going to the Bucks, the Rams going to the Seahawks, a divisional game. Wait,
no, the Niners would be the 6th seed right now.
Yeah, so the Lions would go to the Seahawks, which would bode well for the Lions, and then the Niners and Packers. Oof.
Yeah. There is a chance the Lions are going to be playing without both their starting O tackles this week. They already said neither one is going to practice at all this week. And basically you're not going to know till game day if they're going to play.
Well, and look at the both and AW. If you want to throw up the AFC playoff picture, if you don't mind, kind sir, I'd appreciate that. We've got about 10 minutes left. If you look at the NFC, I mean, look at that. There's still a lot of change that can happen there, right? Because you've got the Bears are still right there. The Minnesota is still right there. So really, there's still some movement that's going to happen, especially with so many divisional games being backloaded. Because look at and look at these teams are all coming from basically two divisions. So you got the East and the South each have a team, and then it's the North and the West have the rest. 5 teams from the North and the West. That can and that difference between the North and the West can from 3 to 2 can flip real easily.
Yeah, in the AFC, KC's on the outside looking in right now.
Right.
They'd be the eighth. They're in the 8th spot.
Right,
yeah, and the Patriots are the 2 seed.
So they may catch a half game this week if someone loses, but it's a half game. But there's so much play with the But then after that, there's kind of a little bit of a drop.
Yeah,
the Vikings are still the Vikings right now. They're hanging on. I mean, if you think about it, in the NFC at 4-4, they're kind of hanging on, even though they're only a game out. They hang on right now. And then after that,
Wilson Phillips,
Carolina. I mean, the 4-4 teams, they're like hanging in there, but how long until they fall off?
Yeah, you could end up with a situation where, like, a team like the Vikings, if you don't win your division, you don't get in the playoffs. Like, because there's like so many good teams that aren't winning their division from other divisions.
And look at those top 3 teams have 7 wins, and then you go to the Steelers, who basically the Bears would be winning that division right now at 5-3. Everyone else is
the Bills
5-3
are the 5 seed right now. That's crazy.
Everyone from the Steelers down, it's 5-3 or less.
Yeah, man.
So I mean,
the Drake,
Go ahead, Broski.
No, I was going to say the Drake Mays are the 2 seed in the AFC, and there's 3 7-2 teams. Jacksonville holding on to that 7th spot right now, so half game. So yeah, man, this is a really interesting season, man. This is exciting, man. I'm not going to lie. This is a freaking entertaining year so far.
I think it's a little more exciting than last year because we always say it every year, what an exciting year with a bunch of curveballs. So that's every year. I think, though, what's different about this year is that the teams that we thought would be really good and perennially have actually maintained being good have not been, like Baltimore. Kansas City, we all kind of felt would drop off, but we felt there would be a drop off, right? That's crazy. That's crazy. And then teams that we said, a couple of these teams said, well, they're lottery pick teams, like the Colts. Everyone said, oh, they're fighting for the lottery pick. They're fighting for the number one pick, and here they are, the number 1 seed almost. They're the number 1 seed. And the Pats are the number 2 seed. Like, people said, well, the Pats will be better, but no one thought they'd be the number 2
Yeah,
seed.
I figured they'd be number 2 in their division.
Yeah, number
not
2
in the whole conference.
Right.
Drake May is a superhero.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, the Steelers, to be honest, are kind of a letdown. I think in some ways, because in a letdown in certain ways and not in others, because in one way their defense has been terrible and their offense has been just good enough to get them some wins.
Yep.
But then they're Go ahead, Broski.
The best word to describe the Steelers is mediocre, just like mediocre Mike Tomlin. I mean, they're playing like their coach,
And the Chargers, you got to figure they might fall off now without Joe Alt. They went and got a lineman in the draft at the trade deadline at the very end, but he's not Joe Alt. So how that offense is going to falter. The Jags got better by getting Jacoby Myers. They replaced. Look at they lose the stud who's out. They lose the stud who's out for an unknown amount of time, but they brought a stud in at receiver. So
absolutely,
the AFC from 4 down is going to be very interesting. And let's not forget, Baltimore is starting to look like Baltimore, and they're in it. They're in it, and you know what? Cincinnati is actually they can put
Baltimore's
points
going to have to go on an incredible run, dude. Let's just put it that way.
Division. They're 3. They're 2 games behind the division leader, and you still got a lot of division football to be played.
they could finish 11-6 and win that division and make the playoffs.
Yeah, but they'd have to win every game from here on out, right?
Well,
They don't
no,
have
they're
to-
3-5, so they could lose one more, I think, and still win the division.
Okay, well that's an incredible run. They'd have to go on an incredible run.
But look at that's
I'm
assuming
not saying
the
they
other teams
can't.
that-
I'm just saying that's an incredible run.
That's
Mhm.
assuming that the 5-3 Steelers are also winning, and the Steelers are going to drop some games. So there's a little play
I
here.
think so.
They just got to be. They
Yeah.
just got to win. They just got to win 2 more than the Steelers and beat them in divisional play.
Can you imagine if the Baltimore Ravens end up winning that division after how they started? Like, what an
Insane.
indictment on the Steelers, dude. Like,
Yep.
if you lose that division when you started off like with a 4-game head start, like, that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And then let's not forget about another team who's a big letdown this year, the Skins or Commanders. Everyone was
No,
pumping them up. They're Super Bowl contenders. Yep, not at 3-6 without Jaden
Not-
Daniels.
I said it all summer. I said it before the season. They overachieved. I said I said that they went out and they tried to get the things to make that overachievement stick. They went out and made some good off-season acquisitions, some good players. Unfortunately for them, some of those guys have gotten hurt. Jaden's gotten hurt. They gave Scary Terry the money, then he got hurt after 30, which was their fear to begin with. And last year everything went right. This year everything's gone wrong. That's the NFL. So I wouldn't say they're a disappointment. To me, they're what I thought they were. And they're not getting those. Look at last year, they get the Hail Mary. This year they generate a fumble at the end of the game that cost them. It's, you know what I'm saying? They haven't been terrible, but they haven't been getting the bounces, and now they've got the injuries, and they are what we thought they were, a team that overachieved last year.
Yep.
The team that I said
They're
overachieved
starting-
last year. Go ahead, Broski.
Yeah, they did. No, I was going to say their starting shooting guard is out for the year. That's what I call Jaden Daniels because he's 6'5", $190, literally. It's like that durability concern, man. It's already rearing its ugly head for him.
The team that overachieved last year, that's maintained their overachievement, has been the Broncos. Surprisingly to me, because I thought they overachieved some last year with that roster in total, and they got some magic that worked. And you know what? The magic is still working there. So, how much of that is Sean Payton? I don't know. But hey, they've been able to maintain it. Like this year, it's the Pats and the Colts are the overachievers. How are they going to look?
You're not kidding. Yeah, you're not kidding, man. Colts are going all in, man. They wouldn't give 2 first-round picks for Sauce if they didn't think they had a chance to win it all this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I, at this point, I don't know if I still think Denver is overachieving, though.
Well, like I said, they've kept the overachievement, so they're getting that shroud has fallen off. Overachievers this year, the Seahawks, the 49ers, both are overachieving from what we thought they would be. So, we got half the season left. We'll see how it shakes out. There's going to be some. I think, like Broski said, this is going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be an interesting last half of the season. It goes by too quick, man. Can't believe we're through 9 weeks already.
Dude, we're going to blink and it's going to be New Year's.
I know.
Steelers better hope that the Ravens don't catch them, man. Like that's the kind of thing that could finally see Mike Tomlin out the door, dude.
Yeah, because the word on the street is they're just not going to renew his contract. Next year is going to be his hail and farewell. He might not get that hail and farewell if that happens. But we'll have to talk about that more tomorrow as we get ready for Thursday Night Football tomorrow, because we're out of time for today. Don't forget JB is next. MMA show today at 2 p.m. Central. I will set that up. And don't forget we got Hallis Hall tonight at 7 p.m. Central. JB's Roundtable tonight at 8:30. And you also have the Red Zone Rant weekday edition at 8. We'll see you all for those shows, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Everyone have a great Football Wednesday because it's Hump Day. Have a good one, guys.